Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life, in the form of Elden Ring. This playthrough has been kind of a long time in the making. I kind of actually meant to get cracking on this like a while ago, but scheduling and, random life shit didn't really permit, so we'll be jumping into Elden Ring today. This is going to be a very, very, very long series, and I will be, giving some tips and explaining things here and there. But overall, this is pretty much just kind of a casual playthrough. Like, I wasn't really going for, like, a super high quality, like, guide format kind of thing. Because that's kind of a big undertaking for a game like this. So, obviously I did try to get through things as best as I could and whatnot, but also, I should probably mention that this is post-commentary, so I'm commentating over a run that I already did on my own time, kind of like with the Dead Space playthrough. But yeah, anyway, as we create our character, our Elden hero, I just went with Vagabond for this playthrough. Vagabond kind of gives you the best balance of stats that I like from the beginning, which would be Vigor, strength, dexterity, and endurance. Those are kind of the main stats that I tend to go for. Also, I was trying to create a very ugly looking green character, and I ended up succeeding, so more on that when we're finished here. Usually, I don't really fuck around too much with the character creator, but in FromSoftware games, it's kind of fun, because you can really create just a really, really terrible, terrible monstrosity that deserves to be clubbed upside the head and left to bleed in the moonlight. Look at this guy. It only gets worse, but I guess a breakdown of the stats in this game. Vigor, obviously, that's your health. Your endurance is your stamina and your equip load. Dexterity and strength are basically weapon stats, so throughout the game, you'll pick up a shitload, and I mean a shitload of different weapons, and each of these weapons has scaling with different stats, and if it's a melee weapon, usually it's going to be either strength or dexterity. So in order to efficiently wield certain weapons and also get more damage out of them, you put level up points into strength and dexterity. And then you've got faith, which basically scales with different types of magic, like different incantations and sorceries and whatnot. You've got intelligence, which you can use to spec into kind of a glintstone sorcery based build. So when it comes to choosing your starter class here, it really doesn't matter. And when it comes to the keepsake here, this doesn't really matter too much either, but I do recommend that you go with the stone sword key. That's kind of the best thing that you can get. But we're done creating our character. His name is Codicius II. I don't know why I named him Codicius II. I guess there was a prior Codicius. Maybe I'm the prior Codicius. But I'll shut up for this cutscene, and then we'll get cracking.
The fallen leaves tell a story. The great Elden Ring was shattered. In our home, across the fog, the lands between. Now, Queen Marika the Eternal is nowhere to be found. And in the night of the Black Knives, Godwyn the Golden was first to perish. Soon, Marika's offspring, demigods all, claimed the shards of the Elden Ring. The mad taint of their newfound strength triggered the shattering. A war from which no lord arose. A war leading to abandonment by the greater will. Oh, rise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all. Oralu, chieftain of the Badlands, the ever-brilliant Gold Mask. Fear, the deathbed companion, the loathsome dung-eater, and Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. And one other, whom grace would again bless. A tarnished of no renown. Cross the fog to the lands between. To stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord.
Alright. Welcome to the Chapel of Anticipation. Pick up that item to get the Tarnished Wizened Finger, which is basically the item that allows you to write messages. It's fun. It's just one of the many aspects of jolly cooperation that you'll find in this game. Not always, though. Sometimes people will leave messages to fucking prank you. They'll put a message on the side of a cliff and it'll say something like, "Trust me, jump." It's great. But, yeah, not really going to be spending much time in this area. You'll see why in a moment. But it is gorgeous. Look at this fucking place. It's beautiful. This whole game pretty much looks like this. But, as you can see, we're fat rolling. Which means that we're rolling really slow because we're wearing too much shit. So if we unequip some of our armor, we can roll at pretty much full speed. Or fuller speed. If I were to take all of this armor off, we would be rolling at full speed, but I don't like to fat roll in any game ever, because it sucks. And I like to be able to, I guess, panic roll if I need to. But yeah, we'll be going with a little bit less armor for the beginning of the game, just because I like mobility. Anyway, this first boss fight here is a scripted defeat. I think if you actually do manage to beat this guy, you just end up with the exact same outcome. You just kind of end up with this little cutscene. And he drags you off. So yeah, that was the Grafted Scion. So yep, feel free to run over to that guy and just let him kill you. I always like to try to fight him, just because it's kind of fun, but I never really get that far. Because your boy kind of sucks. But the Grafted Scion drags us to this place. For whatever reason.
Don't worry, Torrent. Fortune is on his side.
Yeah.
We found him here, after all. One of his kind is sure to seek the Elden Ring. Even if it does violate the Golden Order.
Can you fucking imagine, like, you're walking your dog and you stumble upon, like, a homeless guy who's just drunk and he's like face down in the dirt. And you're like, oh, don't worry, doggy. Fortune is on this guy's side. I'm pretty sure he's gonna run for president someday. What the hell? Yeah, Fortune is clearly on my side. I just got my ass handed to me by a multi-legged demon of the night. And now I'm in a cave. Yeah, I would say luck is on my side. But whatever, we got our flask of Crimson Tears and a flask of Cerulean Tears. Crimson Tears is basically this game's version of the Estus Flask from Dark Souls. Just use it to heal. The flask of Cerulean Tears replenishes your FP, aka your focus points, aka the blue bar. So you've got your blue bar, and you've got your green bar for stamina, and you've got your red bar for health. And that is, those are the 3 bars of Elden Ring. But anyway, this is the tutorial cave. This tutorial is actually pretty easy to miss if you're a new player, but definitely do this tutorial because not only does it teach you kind of the basics of the combat mechanics, but you also get some souls out of it, or some runes, I should say. I was also trying to parry this guy, but I am not the best at parrying in Elden Ring, sadly. The only Souls-like game that I'm kind of okay at parrying in is Dark Souls 1. I have no idea why, but like Dark Souls 1 parrying is actually kind of easy for me. I have a good understanding of how it works in that game. But starting in like Dark Souls 3, I just started to really suck shit at parrying. But it's okay, because it's usually not a mechanic that you have to rely on. So, coming over here, this guy's got a shield, so if you two-hand a weapon, you do more, God damn it, what's the word? I want to say poise, I guess poise damage would be the correct word. But you can actually stagger enemies with shields a lot easier if you two-hand. If you want to make it even easier, you can hold down the heavy attack. And that usually does the job, too. Yeah, I'm trying to get better at parrying in this tutorial. These enemies are actually kind of hard to parry just because of their misleading animation. Like, they don't actually swing the sword at you when it looks like they're going to. But anyway, every weapon in this game has a skill. It's usually called like a weapon art or an Ash of War, but it's basically when you two-hand the weapon and then you press the left trigger. Every weapon's got like a cool little trick. Some weapons have way cooler ones than others, obviously. Some weapons have magic arts on them. And then you've got other ones like the Morning... Is it the Morning Star? I think it's the Morning Star. The mace. Like the first mace that you can get. And the weapon art on that is super fucking lame. It's literally just a kick. Stakes of Marika. So these are basically like little mini checkpoints before bosses. I just accidentally did a gesture. But they're pretty handy. They don't show up before every boss, but most bosses will have a Stake of Marika, so if you get killed by the boss, you can get a much quicker retry. And there's technically the first boss of the game, the Soldier of Godric. I know he's intimidating, I know he's difficult, but be brave, be bold, you will defeat him. Look at how hard that was. Do you see how fucking hard that was? Jesus, man. The guy came right for my throat. But... yeah, there's a really funny meme in the Elden Ring community about, like, the Soldier of Godric being the hardest boss in the game. There's people who are like, guys, I fucking beat Millennia after like 5 tries, but I'm still stuck on Soldier of Godric. He's tough. But yeah, and all jokes aside, if you either parry him or just sort of hit him a couple times, he dies, but the best way to like insta-kill him is to just guard counter his first attack. Just get a guard counter on him and he's just... It's that easy. That area to our right back there before we got on this elevator, that's called the Fringe Folk Heroes Grave, and that place fucking sucks. We're not going to be going through there until later in the game. Because it's a bitch-ass dungeon and it's a terrible time, but... Anyway, welcome to beautiful Limgrave. Walking out that door and seeing all this shit for the first time will always be, like, one of the most iconic moments ever. But anyway, there's a summoning pool and a small golden effigy, so go ahead and interact with that shit. Then we come up here, we activate our first grace, and then we can come over here and talk to this fine gentleman.
Oh, yes. Tarnished, are we? Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring? Hmm? Of course you have. No shame in it. Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless. Without guidance, without the strength of runes, and without an invitation to the Round Table Hold, you are fated, it seems, to die in obscurity. Luckily for you, however, there is one shining ray of hope for even the maidenless. Me, Vare. Take care to listen. Are you familiar with grace? The golden light that gives life to you, Tarnished. You may also behold its golden rays, pointing in a particular direction at times. That is the guidance of grace, the path that a Tarnished must travel. Indeed. Grace's guidance holds the answers. It will lead you, Tarnished, to the path you are meant to follow, even if it leads you to your grave. Grace to Castle Stormvale, over on the cliff.
I accidentally skipped his first line because I thought he was repeating dialogue.
God, Godric the Grafted. It's time you set off, I should think. To Castle Stormvale on the cliff, where Grace would guide you, if you seek the Elden Ring, maidenless as you are. It's time to Castle.
Alright, so, talking to White Mask Vare, we get our first port of call, which is the big, obvious-looking castle up on the cliff there. Obviously, if we follow the guidance of Grace, like he said, that'll pretty much just lead us there anyway, but we're not going to be doing that just yet. As we make our way through this area, I like to run over here and grab some of these ruin fragments, because ruin fragments are pretty good for crafting and whatnot. But we're just going to make our way north to this, this ruined church over here. And we're going to ignore that big, giant, golden knight on a horse, because he's a boss that's going to be really hard to fight this early in the game. You can fight him and you can beat him if you want, but I would recommend not doing it just yet. Anyway, we'll talk to this guy.
Tarnished. I can see it, but I can also see that you're not after my throat. Then why not purchase a little something? I am Kale, purveyor of fine goods. I am of a nomadic people, selling wares as I travel. The land has been tainted by madness since the shattering of the Elden Ring. It's only Tarnished like yourself, who keep things from drying up entirely. Let's say you're a very welcome customer.
Alright, so, Kale, this guy, he is one of the nomadic merchants, and you find these guys pretty much all over the place in the game. Every time you meet one of these guys, I recommend talking to them and checking their stores to see if there's anything you want to buy. But from Kale, we're just going to buy the torch and the crafting kit. Two very important items. Although we're actually going to be getting pretty limited use out of the torch, because I ended up buying the lantern. Because the lantern is much better than the torch. But anyway, this church, the what is it? The third church of Ella. That's going to be kind of a little base of operations for some of the shit that we end up doing in East Limgrave. But for now, we're just going to book it north along the road towards Gatefront. And again, we're just going to ignore the Tree Sentinel for now. The Tree Sentinel is the boss, who's back there just roaming the hillside on his horse. So we'll be fighting him later, but not yet. And we're just going to head this way, kind of kill some dudes for fun along the way and grab some items. None of these items are really too important, but the kukri are basically throwing knives. And they're throwing knives, except I think they do a little bit more damage. I can't really remember exactly what they do. Well, anyway, this area is Gatefront. And basically all we're going to do here for now is book it over to this Site of Grace. And then we're going to rest there, and we're going to obtain the horse. Once we obtain the horse, we are going to be able to do pretty much anything we want. The world is our oyster. But yeah, once you get to this this Grace site and you rest at it, that'll trigger the next cutscene.
Greetings, traveler from beyond the fog. I am Melina. I offer you an accord.
What year? How many miles are on it? Good one.
Have you heard of the Finger Maidens? They serve the Two Fingers, offering guidance and aid to the Tarnished. But you, I am afraid, are maidenless.
So everyone keeps saying.
I can play the role of maiden, turning runes into strength to aid you in your search for the Elden Ring. You need only take me with you to the foot of the Erd Tree. Then
Except,
summon me by grace.
if you refuse,
Turn runes
you can...
into strength.
Literally nothing happens. You end up just summoning her back, and then she's like, oh, do you want to accept now? And then you hit accept.
I bequeath to you this ring. Use it to traverse great distances. It will summon a spectral steed named Torrent. Torrent has chosen you. Treat him with respect.
Alright. And with that, we have really nothing left to do here. No more dialogue with Melina, although she will be showing up pretty frequently. And now we have access to the horse, aka Torrent. So what you want to do is... how I like to equip the horse is I like to use the pouch. You can use your regular, like, inventory slot, like, with your flasks and whatnot, but I like to put the horse in the pouch, because then all you have to do is, like, hold triangle and then press down on a D-pad button. And then it's just more lickety-split. But anyway, now that we have that map fragment, we can actually see a pretty giant chunk of this area, which is pretty sweet. But for now, we're just gonna book it west along this road through Stormgate. Watch out for that asshole, because he will try to jump on you. I've actually never had him land on me. I'm assuming it would probably kill you instantly. this early in the game. Got this guy who blows his fucking trumpet of discontent. Discontempt. God, if I could learn to pronounce words. But up here we get our first golden seed. Golden seeds are used to upgrade how many flasks you have. Over here we get a smithing stone off the ground. Shout out to the YouTuber Fightin' Cowboy for actually showing me how to pull some of this shit off in the early game. Because what we're doing here basically is we're just going to run around and run a bunch of errands, grab some items, meet a bunch of NPCs, and start their quests. And we're going to get a bunch of like cool early game stuff done. That's going to allow us to get a really good head start in the game.
Been grafted. Everyone who came with me. They crossed the sea for me. They fought for me. Only to have their arms taken, their legs taken, even their heads taken. Taken and stuck to the spider. Did you know, if you're grafted by the spider, you become a chrysalid? It's quite a lark when you think about it.
So this is Roderica. She's actually a pretty important NPC, so don't miss her.
Into Stormvale Castle, enticed by the one in the white mask, I suppose. Oh, you've come to be one with the spider? Well, that makes us two peas in a pod. But I don't have your courage. It's scary, you know, having your arms cut off, or legs, or your head. I want to be like everyone else, but I'm just too scared. I'm nothing but a craven. Oh, I know. Can you take this little one along with you? The poor thing deserves someone braver than myself. And the spirits look rather fondly upon you. It'll be glad of your company, I think, the little one.
Alright, so she gives us our first spirit summon.
Oh, can you pass on a message for me? If you see the little chrysalids in Stormvale Castle, tell them I love them. And that, despite my craven heart, I'm sure I'll be joining their club soon enough. I'm finally getting the hang of this whole pain thing, you know. It was a pleasure to... Oh, tell them I love them.
Alright, so... obviously you can use the spirit summons in combat, like when you're fighting bosses and shit, they'll help you fight. And Elden Ring is actually, like, very much leans heavily into the use of summoning when you're fighting bosses. Like, I really do feel like a lot of the bosses in this game are sort of balanced with summons in mind. So she gives us the spirit jellyfish ashes, which we can later use to summon a big jellyfish to help us fight. But you also end up using that summon for a puzzle later in the game, so... anyway, yeah, Roderica is a pretty significant NPC, so, again, don't miss her. But anyway, now we're at the War Master's shack, and we can upgrade our flasks with the golden seed. So every time you upgrade your flasks with golden seeds, the next upgrade is going to require another golden seed. So our next upgrade, we're going to need 2.
Name's Bernard. Tarnished, just like you. Let me ask you something. Are you here in the lands between to take up the fight? Does your faith in the guidance of grace hold firm, despite the collapse of the Golden Order?
Tell him that your faith holds firm.
Yes, you're a Tarnished through and through. Takes me back. That's a quality needed now more than ever. Any interest in bearing the torch of my battle arts? All I know is the sword. Picked up a fair few tricks in my time, too. Now's the time to pass them on. To a good and proper Tarnished, like you. There's a myriad of battle arts in these lands that I've yet to discover. Mementos of all the warriors who raised their arms in battle. Lost and died. A fine tale, all told, of true chivalric romance. That's how I fell in love with the sword. and the arts of combat. It grants meaning even to falling in battle, to death itself.
I feel like this guy was George R.R. Martin's one contribution to the game, because this guy is straight out of Game of Thrones, his voice and everything.
Not floating your boat, eh? Well, there's no rush. Knowledge of the arts can wait another day.
But anyway, yeah, this guy actually sells some really good Ashes of War, but we're not going to be partaking in that just yet. For now, we've got other fish to fry. If you come over into this valley here, there is a pretty useful item, but you're going to need to enlist the help of one of these guys to help you get it. So, I like to aggro one of these giants and get him to chase me. And then you run over to this statue here, and you get him to break it. And then you can go over there and grab the item. Pretty sweet. Pretty sure it's like 2 smithing stones. Yes. Smithing stones are obviously used to upgrade your weapons and make them do more damage, which is pretty good. There is a random, like, enemy camp over here, too, and I think if you roll through here, you get some exalted flesh. I can't quite remember what this item is. What is this? It's exalted flesh. Cool, yeah. Exalted flesh is really, really good. It's a consumable item, and when you use it, it temporarily increases your attack power. So you do a little bit more damage for a little bit. Very, very handy for boss fights.
Can you hear me?
Well, well, well.
I'm stuck. Hello? Hello? Oh, my stars. I'm so happy to see you. I am Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. And as you can see, I'm stuck here. Please, can you help me out of this? My thanks. 1,000 thanks. Just give me a good smack from the rear with something nice and big. And I'll pop clean out, I'm sure. Don't dally. No, there's no need to fret. I'm very well trained. Give it your all, I say.
Oh, sorry about that untimely edit. I had to get up and take care of something real quick, so I had to pause it. But we're carrying on where we met good old Alexander the Jar here. So he's stuck in the ground, so go ahead and roll up and talk to him. See what he has in store.
Can you help me out of this? My thanks. 1,000 thanks. Just give me a good smack from the rear with something nice and big. And I'll pop clean out, I'm sure. Don't dally. No, there's no need to fret.
So all you need to do to help this guy is go behind him and just start smacking the ever-loving shit out of him with your weapon. And then eventually he pops on out. You get a gesture. Wait for him to get up and turn around. Also, this annoying-ass bug was trying to interject himself into the convo.
Well played. Though that mighty wallop of yours almost spelled the end of me. Well, I'm out now, and that's what counts. I thank you. And as a token of my appreciation, I'd like you to have this.
More exalted flesh.
Once again, the pleasure is mine. I am the warrior Jar known as Alexander. Iron Fist Alexander. I journey to the east, where I intend to further my education in the ways of war. And beyond these lands lie the scarlet, rot-blighted Caelid wilds. And upon their southern edge is Redmane Castle, in which a festival of combat is being held. I'd heard whispers of such festivities before. Doesn't the notion set your breast aflutter?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you'll be quite the warrior. I found you stuck in a hole in the ground, so that bodes pretty well for your warrior future. Anyway, we will not be running into him until we get to Redmane Castle, which is going to be very, very, very much later in the game. So for now, we're going to roll over to this side of grace over here. Don't fight that guy on the bridge just yet. Those are called pumpkin heads. And they're actually pretty easy to fight, but this early in the game, he'll probably kick my shit in a little bit.
This way, Tarnished.
So,
May I have a word?
coming back to the Church of Ella at nighttime
I am the witch Renna.
will allow you to
I'd
meet
heard tell of a tarnished
Ranni.
hurtling about atop a spectral steed.
She said her name is
And
Renna,
upon
but she's
looking
lying.
into the matter, the talk I surmise is of thee. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent. Ah, as I had hoped, I was entrusted this for thee by Torrent's former master.
And we get the Spirit Calling Bell and some Lone Wolf Ashes, which means now we can summon spirits
Summon them with it.
to help us fight bosses and
Hush
shit.
And return to the Erdtree. The spirits will obey thine command but briefly, as they recall battles past. Now it is thine, to do with as thou wishest. Forgive mine intrusion, Tarnished. I doubt we shall again meet. But all the same, learn well the lands between. How long will it be, I wonder, before the Tarnished tire of obeisance to the two fingers?
Alright, so Ranni teleports away. Do not miss this, because the Spirit Bell is very, very important. If you do happen to miss this, you can still get the Spirit Bell, but you have to go to Round Table Hold, and I think you can obtain it from the Twin Maiden Husks, which are basically the merchants in that area. But anyway, Ranni says that we're not going to see her again, but we definitely do. So, not till a little bit later, but for now, we're going to roll on down the road here, and we're going to talk to this fine gentleman over here on the left.
There's no mistake, is there? Death has left its mark once again.
So this is D. I just accidentally did a gesture at him.
A tarnished, are you? I'm known as D. I hunt down those who live in death and weed their death root. Heed my warning. The village here has been touched by death. And worse yet, it is home to a mariner. If you value...
So this enemy is ruining my conversation, but luckily these guys are really easy to kill, so I just kind of decided to get rid of them. The thing with these enemies is that they're undead, so when you kill them, you want to look for that blue light that shows up above their body, and then you hit that, and then it kills them for good, so they don't get back up. There are other ways of dealing with them. If you use a holy weapon, or if you enchant your weapon with holy damage, or if you use holy spells, that will kill them outright, so that you don't have to hit the blue light thingamabob. But yeah. These guys are actually pretty easy to take out. I want to say if you come through here when it's not nighttime, these enemies might not show up, but don't quote me on that. But when you're playing Elden Ring, if you're running around at nighttime, more enemies do show up. Different types of enemies will come out at night.
I hunt down those who live in death and weed their death root. Heed my warning. The village here has been touched by death. And worse yet, it is home to a mariner. If you value your life, then go no further. The village here has been turned back.
So he's talking about the Tibia Mariner boss fight that inhabits this little village over here. This is Summonwater Village, and the Tibia Mariner bosses are literally there's a couple of them throughout the game, and they are so incredibly easy. We could probably beat this guy right now if we wanted to, but because we're just doing some early game errand running and shit, we're just gonna wait. But yeah, the Tibia Mariners are extremely easy, so don't be intimidated by those guys. Pretty much just stay on your horse the whole time and do hit and run tactics. But yeah, welcome to Summonwater Village. While we're here, we're gonna grab something. I don't remember what the fuck is over here. It might be the green turtle talisman, which is really, really good. Yeah, once you see these turtles, you know you're in the right spot. So you need a stone sword key to open this. And we selected the stone sword key as our starting gift, so there we go. And then when you come down here... Not exactly sure what I was doing. Oh, I actually had a total of 3 stone sword keys. When you pick that as your starting gift, you might get more than one. I'm not totally sure, but... When you come over here, you can open this chest, and you get the green turtle talisman, which boosts your stamina recovery speed by quite a bit. Go ahead and equip that bad boy. Also, you can kill all the turtles in this little chamber down here, but I didn't do that because I'm not a monster. But yeah, you can read the item description if you want. It's always good to read item descriptions in this game. Especially if you don't know what an item does. Because, it kind of fucking sucks not knowing what items do. Because items are pretty important in this game. So these things are called teardrop scarabs. And the red ones, when you destroy them, they will replenish your flasks. Or, your flask of crimson tears. And the blue ones will replenish your cerulean tears. But anyway, we're going to very carefully make our way down this piece of shit. I hate shit like this. But if we carefully make our way down here, there's a cemetery. At least I think it's a cemetery that we can loot. So this leads to some prime grave robbing real estate. There we go. Yeah, that shit is so fucking stressful in this game. When you run into these little platforming sequences. Most of the time they're pretty easy, but every so often you run into some shit like that, and it's just, ugh. But we'll pick up these golden runes. Golden runes. Pretty much every time you run into, like, these little cemetery areas, just run around and pick up golden runes. And if you don't know what golden runes are, they are basically this game's version of consumable souls from Dark Souls. So when you use them, it gives you runes. You just go into your inventory and you use it like an item, and it gives you runes. And getting that cookbook off of that thing was kind of a fucking pain in the ballsack. But we did it. Anyway, that cookbook allows you to craft sleep pots, which you can actually kind of create a sleep-based build in this game if you want. I think it's kind of goofy, and personally, I don't really like the sleep status in this game. I just don't think sleep is very good compared to stuff like poison or bleed or scarlet rot. Because the problem with bleed is that you can make your enemy fall asleep, but as soon as you hit them, they wake up. So it's good for getting like a couple free hits, but for the most part, I just think there's strategies to fight bosses that are a lot less iffy and just more consistent in general. So, alright, now I'm on another adventure. I'm just trying to avoid more enemies. I'm not actually super sure what I'm doing at this point. If I were smart, I would be looking at my notes, but the problem with my notes is that earlier in the game, I was deleting things as I was doing it. But, oh yeah, there's a church over here. Also, there's a big old cavalry of enemies that are carrying a wagon. You can kill all those enemies and get access to that wagon, but we're not going to be doing that yet. So this is the Waypoint Ruins, and there's actually an NPC here that we're going to talk to. As soon as I find the fucking entrance, which is probably going to take me a while, because sometimes when you're looking around like ruins in this game, it's kind of hard to find the little underground section that pretty much always exists, where you'll find like a treasure chest and some items and shit. So I guess I opted to like discover the Waypoint Ruins and get the map marker, but I guess I ended up coming back later. Which is fine, because we don't really have anything we can do there yet. Actually, there's a boss there, too. A boss that might be kind of hard to fight this early on, so... I guess leaving and coming back later was a good idea. That's a cliff, so back to the bridge I had to go. Your biggest enemy in Elden Ring is gonna be the landscape 90% of the time. It's gorgeous, but man, you gotta find ways to traverse this shit. And with my unorthodox traveling methods, where I'm always trying to find a shortcut because I'm a lazy idiot.
You there?
Oh yeah.
Could you help us out, Cully?
Coming over here, there's another NPC that we can meet, but this guy is pretty cleverly hidden. So we're looking for...
You there? Stop pretending you can't see me.
We're looking for a red bush, basically. Think about like the burning bush that talked to Moses. This one right here.
Why
And
won't
then
anyone look me
just
in the
attack
eye?
it.
I'm not that ugly, am I?
And attack it again. Ugh.
What'd you go
And who do we have here?
for? Oh, yes. I remember. Some clod turned me into a tree. You were just breaking the spell, weren't you? Thank you. The name's Bok. I was pushed out of the cave. Told not to come back. Not ever. Then I ended up as a tree. Lucky you came along, really. Oh.
So Don Cheadle's Captain Planet rolled up and turned this poor bastard into a tree.
They took everything I owned, and so this is all I have to express my thanks. I hope you can forgive me.
And we get 10 mushrooms.
If you
Thanks.
could afford to wait for a while, I could sneak back into the cave and bring back something of actual value. Then I'd be of some real use to you, I reckon. Right, but I'll need a moment. I'm frightened of them, so I have to gather myself. My knees start knocking, just thinking about that god-awful cave on the shore. Right.
So he's actually talking about one of the first dungeons that we end up doing, the coastal cave, but we're not going to be doing that just yet. It's actually super, super easy, and it's one of the first dungeons that you're intended to find and do, I think, because it's like really, really low level, and not really a whole lot goes on there except for completing Bok's little quest line. But yep, that's Bok the Seamster. We have officially started his quest line. His quest line is pretty straightforward. But now we have got to do not falling off of cliff stuff. Back over to the bridge we go. I feel like there was something on this side that I was trying to do, but maybe ended up forgetting or delaying. I ended up doing this shit in kind of a disjointed order, but I had a pretty decent idea of just a bunch of early game shit that I wanted to knock out, just to, you know, make things a little bit easier when we actually jump into the content of the game. So yeah. Do you have to do any of this stuff? No, not really. As soon as you finish the tutorial and open up that door that takes you out into the open world, you can pretty much just get cracking as soon as you want. But I opted to do this because I just felt like it, you know. Plus, you know, Elden Ring is a reasonably hard game, so why not utilize different mechanics and strategies that you're given to make things easier? That's another thing about this game, dude. Like, FromSoftware fans are like the most annoying gatekeeping pieces of shit on the planet. Don't listen to them. I shouldn't say that either. The FromSoftware community just has plenty of really, really good, fun people in it, but so here's where we get another one of our first side quests.
You've come to lend me your aid, have you? Well, that's very kind, but no, the help is very much appreciated, even from a tarnished. Despite appearances, nobility is no prerequisite to serving the true order. You might have heard of me, Kenneth Height. Next in line is the rightful ruler of Limgrave, young Tarnished. I would have a boon of you. I want you to take back my fort. It lies to the south, beyond the Mistwood.
A knight commander from Stormvale took it. A fool! And plumb mad to boot. Simply obsessed with blood. What are you waiting for? A kiss goodbye? My fort lies to the south, beyond the Mistwood. Take it back for me. Oh, I see. You wish to know the reward. Fret not. The great Kenneth Height is known for his considerable largesse. The celebrations will be lavish indeed upon the dawn of my fort's retrieval. Yes. Now, allow me to furnish you with a little advice. I would take great care to avoid Godric's tarnished hunts were I in your shoes. That depraved lot are obsessed with sacrificing tarnished like you for the sake of grafting. Honestly, Godric's nothing more than a jumped-up country bumpkin. Lord? Oh, don't make me laugh. First, he hid himself amongst the womenfolk to flee the capital, then hid from Radahn in that castle. Then he insulted Melania, lost to her in battle, only to lick her boots rather than die like a man. Has he no shame, the big girl's blouse? And to think, he's the blood of Godfrey, last of the golden lineage. You almost wouldn't know it to look at him. Yeah, I almost feel sorry for the chap the more I think of it.
Alright, Kenneth Height, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and exhaust all of his dialogue, and then we start his quest, where we get to go retake his fort from a bunch of bad guys that took it. More on that later. But yeah, that quest is another... I think that's like the second thing I ended up doing, because when you go to Fort Height, you end up getting an item that I need to create my early game build. And when I say early game build, I mean a build that we end up using for approximately 10 minutes before I get the Bloodhound Fang. Yeah, there's Kenneth Height. I think at this point we're going to the Third Church of Marika, which is just over yonder. But yeah, the Mistwood is another early game area, but there are some very, very powerful enemies there in the form of Rune Bears. Rune Bears fucking suck, and there's also absolutely no point in fighting them. The more that you play Elden Ring, the more that you realize there are some enemies in this game that you just shouldn't fuck with in general. The land octopuses, the bears, like really, you just don't even need to do it. So at the Third Church, we can pick up a Sacred Tear, which I think I already explained what those do, right? Sacred Tears are used to increase... Oh no, you get your Flask of Wondrous Physic here, never mind. You get a Sacred Tear too, but more importantly, you get the Wondrous Physic Flask. So the Flask of Wondrous Physic is kind of like your own personal experimental potion. You can combine different tiers that you get, and they all have different effects. So you can kind of like combine two of them, and I think I ended up sort of showing how it works here. But yeah, mixing physics. So you can combine two different crystal tiers into one drink, so you get like two different effects. It's pretty sweet.
Spoken echoes linger here. Words of Queen Marika, who vanished long ago. If you wish, I will share them with you.
This part's entirely up to you, but we'll just go ahead and let her talk.
Marika's own words, my lord, and thy warriors. I divest each of thee of thy grace. With thine eyes dimmed, ye will be driven from the lands between. Ye will wage war in a land afar, where ye will live and die. Well, perhaps that might serve you in lieu of a maiden's guidance.
Perhaps it will. Alright. So, nothing left to do here at the church for now. So, that might be the end of the video, actually. Actually, wait, is this the video where I put like a little addendum segment on there? Because there's something I forgot to do. Yeah, okay. So that was a weird edit, but one last thing I ended up doing was going back to the Church of Ella to talk to Kale again.
Oh, don't fret.
And what he does is he tells you about Blide, and then he gives you the finger snap gesture.
There are others of my people who yet survive in the...
Alright, and that was the end of part 1. So, when we jump into part 2, I think we ended up going to meet Blide, and then we take on, like, the first boss or some shit, so, or kinda, I don't remember exactly what order I did shit in, but, yep, hopefully you guys enjoyed the first part. I know it was kind of long, and we didn't actually accomplish any of the content, we just kind of ran around and grabbed items, but that's just what we do. So, in the next part, we'll be doing slightly more entertaining shit, so I'll see you then.